Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, TGIF, and what a great day to talk about R&R. So that is today's topic. And actually, it's not the usual rest and relaxation. It is the topic of rituals and routines. And yes, it's related to rest and relaxation and the topic that we're very passionate about, which is resiliency. So resiliency, rituals, and routines. So our definition of R&R. So, and I'm going to use a lot of R words today. Actually, I got to thinking about this because I wanted to package this content that we just have always been talking about since the inception of our company, about the importance of resiliency in ourselves, in our teams, in our organizations. So, we've been talking about this for years. We've been, including it in all our summits, in our visits to our partners, etc. It's always on the agenda. So I'm thinking, here we are years later, how can we continue to package this in a way that it really is making a difference in individuals and in healthcare organizations? So I wanted to take a stab at looking at this just slightly different today, because we've been talking about individuals creating a plan for their resiliency, supporting that for their team and their entire organization. So let's look at that a little differently under this idea of rituals and routines, okay? So let's take the idea that we all know, why do we even need this? Is that obviously the work that we do and life in general can be tiring, it can be exhausting. Burnout rates are high, all sorts of anxiety, just all these things are really high in individuals and then collectively in organizations. And, if you think about healthcare in particular, is, when you leave a shift or a day at work, whether you're a leader, whether you're a nurse, an employee anywhere in the organization, a physician or whatever, there's a high likelihood when you leave your day of work, you're going to be tired. You're going to be physically and emotionally drained on many days, maybe most, maybe every single one, right? And so no wonder our industry is just, plagued with burnout. And there's a lot of ripple effects to burnout that are really bad on the individuals affected by them, their families, but also on things like safety, quality, etc. So, there's just a huge impact for not getting this right as human beings or as organizations. And so, I don't think we can stop going at this as many ways as we can to try to reach people in a way where it might make sense to them, where they can actually put it into action and use either for themselves and or their organization. So that's my kind of setup for today of why I wanted to repackage this. Is it's so darn important. And sometimes if you just hear it a different way, maybe it'll make sense to you in a way that maybe other times it hasn't. So here we go. So let's think about a kind of a spectrum, or 4 buckets, I guess you could say, 4 buckets. One would be, having a resiliency routine and ritual for your work day. So what you do during your work day to be refreshed, re-inspired, take breaks, keep going, whether that's a 4-hour day, a 6-hour day, an 8-hour day, a 12-hour day, a 16-hour day, 24-hour double shift. It happens in our industry. So what can you put into your daily routine as an individual, into your work, into your shift to stay fresh? So that would be the refresh bucket. So during your work, how do you refresh? So that's one category where you might need rituals and routines. Then the next category is, how do you close your day when you leave that shift and you're transitioning to non-work time? How do you recover from that shift? So we refresh throughout the shift. We recover as we close out a shift or a day. And then in between shifts or days of work, and that could be hours, that could be days, It could be a vacation, but in that time in between work, that's when we need to recharge, okay? And then when we come in to start the next workday, the next shift, we need to ready ourselves. So we need a resiliency plan that includes routines and rituals in how we refresh during a shift, recover at the end of one, recharge in between them, and then get ready for the next one, okay? So for each person, that might be very unique in how you handle each of those 4 buckets. How you refresh during a shift. What does a break mean to you? How frequently do you need them? What do you do in the breaks, right? So the idea is that in some organizations, they might tell you when you get breaks, right? But maybe you have some autonomy about what you do during that time. And you should really give thought and pause to creating what is your rituals, what is your routines of what you're actually going to do with that time to refresh, okay? And so I saw a really good quote out there when I was, meandering around doing some research on this, is about refreshing and about breaks. I mean, there's a lot of good scientific evidence about why we should take breaks, right? And there's a lot of reasons why people don't. And the number one reason not to is actually guilt. And I bet you that's a huge one in healthcare, is that we feel guilty leaving our coworkers, leaving our patients, leaving our work when we see it's there to be done. Or maybe not wanting to give an impression of being unproductive or not all in or whatever. So, but anyway, there's a lot of scientific evidence about why taking breaks throughout your workday is actually makes you more productive, not less productive, but it also helps you regain focus, sharpness, motivation. It decreases things like exhaustion. It decreases mistakes and errors. So, I mean, taking breaks is very vital to being a highly productive and really good worker. So it doesn't make you a slacker, right? It makes you actually a better worker when you take your breaks. But I know that our industry is just wrought with people who just don't get their breaks. And we have so many people that work long shifts, like 12 hours. It's just amazing, all the jokes in the nursing units about, having great bladders because we don't even get to take time to do that, right? So, but really, some of the research I found on this I thought was really interesting is that you got to front load your workday with breaks. Like, you can't just wait till the 7th, 8th, 9th hour of a 12-hour shift and decide you're going to take your break then and think it's going to get you through the end of the shift. That actually the research shows that if you take your breaks early in the shift, you're more likely to not need them as much at the end of the shift. And that seems counterintuitive, but it kind of is interesting. It's kind of like pain management, right? If you stay on top of it, then it's easier to manage than if you get behind on it and then you're trying to catch up. So, and I saw this quote out there. It says, you would never, as a leader, tolerate half work from your employees. We shouldn't also tolerate half breaks from our employees. Maybe we should post that all around our workplaces is, we wouldn't tolerate half work. Let's not tolerate half breaks. So, finding out what your ritual or routines are for when you need your breaks, how you refresh the best during breaks, is really something that you should have a plan for. It shouldn't be just willy-nilly. Whether or not this happens for you and how you go about it, you should really put some thought into it. So when we talk about creating a resiliency plan, part of that should be, what is your plan to refresh yourself during the workday with the right quantity and quality of breaks, okay? So again, your employer might set that for you of you get 2 15-minute breaks, one in the first half of the day, one in the second half, certain amount of lunch break or whatever. But some of the research out there is a break could even be qualified as 1 minute, right? So it could be just as qualifying as taking 1 minute to release your focus from, the tasks at hand and doing some deep breathing for 1 minute. That may be part of your plan in between those 15-minute breaks or whatever, where you can refresh. So when you think about leaving the end of your workday feeling like, yes, you're probably, physically and emotionally, spent from the day, but could you be better for that if you refreshed frequently throughout the day? Could you make that feeling a little bit lessened at the end of the day if you took breaks better? So create that plan for yourself. Maybe some trial and error. Maybe, approaching it for, do a 21-day challenge of, I'm going to have a new plan for routines and rituals for refreshing myself during the workday. And I'm going to try that, and I'm going to study and adjust that, and I'm going to find out what it is for me that makes me optimally productive, high quality work, yet lessening my burnout, exhaustion, fatigue, etc., because I stay fresh all day long, because I've figured this out for myself. So that's part one of your plan. What is your routine and ritual to refresh during the workday? So number two is, what is your plan to recover and close out your workday? So if you, for instance, if you're a clinical person and you hand off at the end of a shift, right, there's usually a routine that you have to close out your work and hand it off to somebody else, right? And so sometimes these are organizational wide plans of how we close out our day, right? And so, but I also want you to think about, how do you personally close out your day? So you tie a bow around it and then you move on to the next thing, right? Which is non-work. So transitioning from work to non-work and closing out that day in a way where you can recover from whatever happened during that shift, that day, and then move into a good place where you're in recharge mode. But it's hard to get into recharge mode if you can't recover from the given shift or the given day. So creating a ritual, your resiliency ritual for how you recover. Okay, and so what might that mean? What might that mean? So I'll give some ideas. So it might be, Jane and I do this. When we finish a work day on site with one of our clients, we close out the day by a ritual that we have. And it's a ritual that has two parts. One, which is 3 good things, where we say, what are the 3 good things from today? And we always do this. Whether we're alone or together, we do this. We say right away when we close out our day, what were the 3 good things from today? And then we do a plus delta. What went well, which includes those 3 good things, what went well about the day, and then what would we change about the day? What could we have done differently? If we could do it all over again, what would we do differently? If we were doing this day somewhere else tomorrow, what would we do differently, plus delta? And then we package that up and say, okay, we can put that aside, and we don't even have to worry about it through the night, through the next day or whatever. We've packaged it, and when it's time to get back at that plus delta, we will. But right now, we've closed out the day by doing those 2 rituals, right? So also, it might be symbolic. Like, it might be that you shut your computer down. It might be that you, I don't know, just something symbolic that says, I'm done. You turn your computer off, you turn the ringer off your phone. I don't know what it is, but some sort of symbolic ritual that says, I'm done with the shift, I'm done with the day. I also think that some level of, in Jane and I, our example of that, of 3 good things and plus delta, is a reflection kind of process for recovery, where we're thinking about the day, we're reflecting on it in a healthy way versus not doing that so that you ruminate on it in an unhealthy way when you should be moving on to recharging. But that gets interrupted because you haven't closed out the day. You haven't figured out how to package your recovery so you can move on to recharging. So really processing emotions, feelings, reflecting, maybe even giving yourself grace. You know, maybe you made some mistakes during the day. Maybe something happened and it wasn't good. Maybe you had a bad encounter with somebody, a patient, a family member, a coworker, something like that. It's still good to, like, at the end of your day, close that out in some way, so that you're just not carrying it with you when you need to be recharging, when you need to be on non-work time, getting away from work so that you can be more resilient. So creating some sort of ritual. So this may be like 10 to 30 minutes at the end of the day, closing out today, maybe readying yourself for tomorrow, so that you can just say, I'm done with it, and closing it out. You know, I really love, you know, one of our partner organizations where, you know, they really started talking about this with their leadership group, because, you know, I was a leader for many years. And what I know about that is when you're a leader, you know, you're not handing off your patient load, your workload to another person who's going to take that on when you go home at night. You tend to take it home with you, right? It just seems to always be with you, that 24/7, 365 accountability feeling. And even when you're not at work, you feel like you're always thinking about work. You know, it can be hard to turn it off. And the inbox is always full. It's just always full. So I really appreciate, you know, one of our partner organizations that's really done a good job of saying, you know, when our leaders aren't at work, we really want them to be off. You know, we don't expect them to answer emails in the off hours. You know, we really don't. In fact, we really, you know, look down upon that when people are on their weekends, on their nights, on their off time, you know, engaging in work activity. That, you know, we do it when we're at work. And I had a friend of mine who just took a new job, and she was a healthcare leader at one organization where they had that 24/7, 365, responding to emails all times of the day and night, et cetera, et cetera. And she went to work for a new employer that had that mindset that when you're off, right? And you get your work done in that period of time. And actually, you know, it turned out that her new employer, that her hours were set, let's say 8 to 4:30, I don't even know for sure, as a leader. And, you know, she's used to working 10, 12 hours a day and then being, you know, available by phone and by email in the off hours. Well, with this new employer, they actually have to, because of parking, shuttle them into work from a parking lot, and they can only work 8 to 4:30. They can't stay late if they didn't get their work done, right? If they didn't close out their day by 4:30, you know, you're going to miss the shuttle back to your car, and you only get 3 passes on that all year. You know, otherwise, you know, you got to figure out your own way to the you know, your car. And so the idea is, and their mindset is you get your work done when you're at work, you stay focused, you stay refreshed, you get your work done at work, but when you're not at work, you're recharging so that you're better for us your next day at work. So that recovery period is really, really important, because it allows you to transition into your off time to recharge. And I think that your recharging time can be more maximized if you figure out a good routine and ritual that right after your shift, right after your day, as you're closing out your day, that you have a routine and ritual about how you close it down and you transition to your off time. And that reminds me of a quote Jane and I have used several times, is that, you know, what we want when we're not at work is for our family, our friends, our other interests to get the best of us, not just what's left of us, right? And so if we don't have a great plan for our resiliency of how we stay refreshed at work, how we recover from our day or shift at work, when we move into that off time, which is our time for us, for our families, for our friends, the other things that mean a lot to us, they might just get leftovers, right? They may not get the best of us. They may just get what's left of us. And so we need a plan to refresh. We need a plan to recover. And then we can maximize this recharge time, which is this off time in between our work time. And so this is really, where it gets personal of what makes the most sense for you, what is most personal to you. This may be time alone, it may be time with people. You probably need a whole diverse set of things that you do in your non-work time that keeps you resilient, but you should have a plan for it. What is your plan for sleeping? What is your plan for exercise? What is your plan for, family, friends, relationships, hobbies, those kind of things? And so really maximizing that time when we're away to really do things that, that are important to us, that refresh us, that recharge us, so that when we are at work, we come into that time because we've been recharged. So we don't want work to diminish us in such a way that we can't enjoy our non-work time. And we also don't want our non-work time to diminish us in a way that we can't be prepared to come back to work. So all of this plays, together as just how we manage our resiliency in our whole lives, to be high functioning at work and not at work. So we need our plan for recharging. And so that is our personal time, that is our wellness time, that is our family, our friends, all of those things that we enjoy as human beings, and we do that to recharge. So it's whatever it is that's personal to us that recharges us. And then so now we're recharged, hopefully, because we do that well and we have a plan to do that well. And now it's a new day of work. And so we should have a routine or a ritual of how we start our day at work in a way that sets us up for a good day at work. So it may be, just a regular nice routine about how you open your day. And there's a lot of advice about what not to do to open your day if you're a leader. Like, don't jump in your inbox, right? In your email or things like that. So think about what are the best rituals or ways that you can open up your day so that your day goes better because you opened it in that way. Now, Jane and I also have a ritual that we do when we are working, which is, we have something we call the capstone prayer. And, it's really us connecting to purpose and heart related to why we're here to serve. Like, what are we doing? Why are we even here at work? Why do we do this work? And yeah, there's these things that might be on our agenda for today, our to-do list, our schedules, our wherever we're working. There's things planned for our day. There's never an absence of that, but it's a way to start our day connected to why we do this work, and that we want to go into it with purpose and heart, and that we have a vision and a mission for that. And when we connect to that as we start our day, it sets us up for having a better day. And so think about that. It may be, starting your day by making sure you have a plan for your day. A lot of people might end the day before getting ready for the next day, but there should be some element of that. But we think it's really important to make sure that when you're starting a day, you also have a ritual for that, which helps put you in a good position to really have a great day at work. So, we challenge you. The call to action here today is to really think about you as an individual. How do you refresh during work? How do you recover after a day at work and transition? How do you recharge in between times at work? And then how do you ready yourself for the best day at work? And if we can have routines and rituals for these 4 areas of our days, our weeks, our months, our years, that we can really cling to and master and, refine and get better at, there's a high likelihood that, we won't suffer the same levels of burnout, and distress and those kind of things that many people are facing today. And if you're a leader out there, you need a plan for this, and you need to roll out of this and be resilient yourself. But, you know, some of these rituals and routines might actually be things related to, you know, your team, your employees. And so they might be some group things. There might be some group things like, you know, that help refresh your team throughout the day. Certainly the recover, there might be huddles. Huddles are a great way to end a shift, end a day, or start a day, is with a huddle that's positive, that sets you up for a great day. So think about just, you know, that individuals need a plan for these things, but some of these things can be things that leaders help create as well to complement our individual efforts to create these kind of cultural routines and rituals that really support our employees through refreshing throughout a day, recovering after a day, readying themselves for a great day of work, that we might have a role in creating those rituals for our teams or our departments or our entire organizations. You know, one that comes to mind is daily safety briefing. I love that. That's a huddle of people coming together for a great purpose. And often they start that and ready themselves with, some sort of safety mantra, right? A positive statement about having an organization that's safe. So some of these routines or rituals might be, you know, not just for individuals, but entire groups. And it might be something that leaders need to help create and foster and support in their organization. So we're always, encouraging leaders, organization, and individuals to have a resiliency plan. If you don't have one yet, or maybe yours isn't, beefed up enough yet that it's working great for you and you needed some new ideas, I hope that packaging it in this way helps you move closer to creating your personal plan, or as a leader, if you want to help your team and those individuals create their plan, that maybe this is a framework that works for you. So thank you all for your time today. And it's Friday, and for some of you out there that work those Monday through Friday jobs, you're getting ready to close out not just your day, but your work week. And I hope you close it out well. I hope you recharge greatly over the weekend, and that when you start Monday again, that you're ready, recharged, and that you start your week out a little differently than maybe you did this past one, because of something that you thought about and put into practice based on what you heard today.